we have a lot of readers who are asking us to get these records because they're curious about what was the governor's involvement in the sale, what did that look like? And if the governor can just decide that he doesn't want to reveal these records, then we're left in the dark about his involvement in the sale, if he had any involvement at all. And that's something that I really think voters should have that information.
I'm Justin Silverman of the New England First Amendment Coalition. I'm excited to announce that we have launched our second round of classes on state public record laws and the Federal Freedom of Information Act. Our upcoming lessons feature a local journalist from each New England state sharing 3 specific public records requests that you can make right now, and the stories you can report with the information you get back. These are extremely helpful, practical classes that I encourage you all to join. You can register at nefac.org and view all our previous lessons on this YouTube channel. I'm here today with Cassidy Jensen, a reporter at the Concord Monitor. Cassidy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, happy to be here.
Cassidy, you and your colleagues recently made an interesting public records request under the New Hampshire Right to Know law. The request itself, you might agree, wasn't exceptional, but the response you got was. So can you tell us a bit more about this request and why it was made?
Sure. So it starts with a story that we did that has to do with the sale of a New Hampshire Department of Transportation property. The property is located in Concord, right off I-93 as you drive into downtown. The Department of Transportation was interested in selling the property. The buildings there hadn't been used in a while. They were pretty broken down. And under state law, municipalities have the right of first refusal to match offers for state property. So because of that, the city of Concord was trying to buy this property. They had been interested in developing this area for a long time. They matched an offer from Manchester-based private developer Brady Sullivan. So both the city and Brady Sullivan were proposing to spend $1 million to buy this property. But sometime in the spring, the negotiations with the city of Concord broke down. The state informed Concord basically, we're going to proceed with Brady Sullivan. This was really confusing to the city staff that I talked to. They thought that they were kind of on track to buy this property, but the state instead went with Brady Sullivan, saying that some of the terms were better. And so what I wanted to find out was kind of more of what was happening behind the scenes during the time that these negotiations were taking place before the purchase and sale agreement was signed this June. And so because of that, we filed a few right to know requests, which I can talk more about. Another important aspect of the story is the fact that Brady Sullivan in the past has made political contributions to the campaigns of Governor Sununu. Some of those contributions have been through LLCs that are connected with the firm's owners.
So you make these requests, and before I have you describe the response that you got back,
Sure.
First, for the benefit of those that are unfamiliar with the New Hampshire Right to Know law, how do you go about making a request? Can you just give us a quick summary of the Right to Know law process as it pertains to public records?
Sure. So under the Right to Know law, anyone, not just journalists, can request access to government meetings and records. Often this is done through email. You write an email to the relevant person at an agency or municipality saying, pursuant to New Hampshire's Right to Know law, I would like to request access to the following documents. There's another piece of this that has to do with the governor, because the governor has maintained that his office is not subject to the Right to Know law. So instead, when we make requests to the governor's office, we do that under Part 1, Article 8 of the New Hampshire Constitution. That guarantees that the public's right to access to governmental proceedings and records shall not be unreasonably restricted. So usually when we make these kinds of requests, we do it under the Right to Know law, which is usually called 91A, that's the RSA. Or if it's to the governor's office, we do that under Part 1, Article 8 of the New Hampshire State Constitution.
Thank you. And I would encourage everyone watching right now to go to nefac.org, check out our new multimedia FOI guide to learn more about the New Hampshire Right to Know law. So let's get back to the response. You made these
Sure.
requests. of the governor. What was the response you received?
So what we were requesting was correspondence between the governor's office and the New Hampshire Department of Transportation. And so both requests, both directly to the Department of Transportation for this correspondence and the request to the governor's office were denied. We were told that while there were records, there were emails that were responsive to our requests that were related to the sale that were sent in 2021, we were not going to be allowed to see them because of executive privilege.
Got it. So tell us what this executive privilege is all about. Is this a novel argument made by the current governor? Have previous administrations made this argument? What's it all about?
So previous governors have made this argument. We actually faced the same response in 2015 when trying to request efficiency proposals from state agencies from then Governor Maggie Hassan. Executive privilege is not a concept that appears or a term that appears in the state constitution. It doesn't appear in state law. And it has not gone until very recently before the New Hampshire Supreme Court. It exists on the federal level. Courts have ruled that there's a qualified right to executive privilege for the President of the United States, but that has not been ruled by the New Hampshire Supreme Court that this privilege exists or what the limits of it might be.
But those questions are now being addressed by courts in New Hampshire, right? The idea of an executive privilege for the governor as a way of avoiding these types of requests is now being questioned by the judicial system, right? Isn't there a case separate from your requests that's addressing this very issue?
Yes, the timing was very interesting. So another of the more recent cases was in 2016. The state Republican Party requested documents from then Governor Maggie Hassan, and the Superior Court ruled against them. Essentially, the Republicans ultimately withdrew. But a more recent case against Governor Sununu has been appealed up to the Supreme Court. The plaintiff or the petitioner is Louise Spencer. She's the co-founder of a progressive grassroots group here in Concord. She requested emails from the governor's staff and other political actors related to the governor's veto in 2019 of a bill that would have established an independent redistricting commission. So the trial court ruled that the governor, in part, did not have to disclose some of these emails because of executive privilege. So just yesterday, there were oral arguments, from the state and from Spencer's attorney about this subject, and it's possible that when the court issues a decision on this case, they could rule on whether executive privilege exists in New Hampshire and what some of the limits of that could be.
What are the consequences of that decision and your continued battle for these records despite claims of an executive privilege? For those that don't work in a newsroom like you, that aren't spending their time in courts, can you explain to us why it's so important that you get the records that you requested and what the ultimate consequences may be if we have a governor that can just claim executive privilege anytime this type of information is being asked for?
I think it's really important. So for this particular situation with our request, we have a lot of readers who are asking us to get these records because they're curious about what was the governor's involvement in the sale, what did that look like? And if the governor can just decide that he doesn't want to reveal these records, then we're left in the dark about his involvement in the sale, if he had any involvement at all. And that's something that I really think voters should have that information. I think in New Hampshire, especially, we take a lot of pride in our involvement in government. We have a lot of local control. We have this citizen legislature we're really proud of. People really care about knowing what's going on, and it really gives us the power to make decisions about our government. And if we don't know what's going on, we can't make those decisions in an informed way.
Thank you, Cassie. I appreciate all the efforts on behalf of you and your colleagues at the Concord Monitor. Best of luck with this continuing effort to get these records. And many thanks for joining us today to walk us through these issues.
Sure. Thanks so much.